You know what they say, give a fish a man and it'll be fed for the rest of its life. Train the fish to steal from the man though, and you have a vaguely interesting story. One that begins in the most crime-ridden country on earth, Japan, and with the most dangerous profession you can take up, a YouTuber. This one in particular is called Mutekimarus Channel, maybe. Now their most popular series on the YouTube revolves around fish playing Pokemon. If you're not familiar with this kind of concept, basically you take a silly little fish, track its movements with some magic, and have it trigger inputs on your device of choice, such as pressing the A button on a Switch, pressing the A button on a keyboard, or investing in its financial future. Mutekimaru at the start was using what I believe, using my fish knowledge, is a beta fish to accomplish this task. And unsurprisingly, this fish swimming through the water had the coordination of a rock and the effectiveness of a rock type in a water gym when it came to beating Pokemon. However, somehow, possibly with the power of friendship, and maybe a higher power that intervened at some points, in 2020 our fishy friend here was able to beat Pokemon Sapphire after 156 hours fighting the Elite Four and Champion, with the total time ending at 3,195 hours. For context, this game is meant to take around 30 hours to beat, or you could do it faster if you were a pro gamer like I was back in the before times, like in the olden days with him. Sometimes I still feel his presence is watching over, waiting. But enough about that, I bet you want to know what the final team of this fish was. It consisted of a Tentacruel, Mighty Hina, Manectric, Swallow, Walrein, and Camerupt. I have no idea where their starter is, and I'm not searching through all this, let's just say it's dead. Regardless, this fish cooked, and the whole Pokemon Sapphire run was a massive success. But you could also call it a test run for Mutekimaru, and a test swim for the fish. Because by 2023, we're at Season 7 of the I Got Reincarnated as a Fish That Plays Pokemon anime. Now, for the most part, the recurring cast of this show has been pretty limited, focusing mainly just on the story of Beta the Fish wanting to become Alpha the Fish, his sensei, this random snail, and underdeveloped love interest named Molly. However, at around Season 4, in order to keep the show from going dry, the writers gave Beta a gaggle of funny sidekicks, and they were the Black Neon Tetras. Now, they were never meant to be integral to the plot or anything like that. Their purpose was solely to crack notable pop culture references and witty one-liners. Meanwhile, Beta's only goal was to defeat their foes from within the virtual world, like Roxanne, as well as Roxanne, a puzzle room, which I know is giving you all horrific flashbacks to this moment in time. And if you're curious, the fish did not reach this impassable obstacle till hour 2286, and did not pass it until hour 2333. 47 hours it took. Not to be that guy though, but the fish actually didn't beat this obstacle. This was a moment when Dad was getting sick of watching his kid put the square in the circle hole and proceeded to pick up the controller for a minute. Despite that, still faster than me when I was 5, so GG. Also, Beta somehow did this. Anyway, moving on from anime, thank God, we're finally at the fabled Pokémon Violet run. And this time, the Black Neon Tetras were not only promoted to the title of a protagonist, replacing the beta, but also antagonist, replacing the game, I guess. The challenge at first was going as you'd expect, swimmingly. They chose the fire-type Fuecoco as their starter, then spent several hours staring at the water, then several hours staring at grass, and then several more hours just in the plaza, stood there, doing nothing.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
And then on January 14th, 2023, at 1,144 hours in, the inevitable happened whenever you play the Gen 9 Pokemon games. It crashed. This is where you could say the fun would begin, at least on occasions of normality, because it would mean you didn't have to play these fucking atrocious games anymore. No, in this particular case, this is where the felonies begin. Remember when I said I was pretty sure Mutekimaru stepped in during the puzzle section of Sapphire? Well, he definitely stepped out at some point before the crash occurred, because he did not immediately put an end to this. No, in fact, this was the game now. And at first, I bet you could see this as being rather amusing. You know, the fish are just in the Nintendo Switch's main menu with all its features. But then you remember what some of those features are. Oh dear. Yes, with all the power a fish could ever ask for, they began abusing it with shocking efficiency. From the crash occurring, it took them 8.5 minutes to enter the Nintendo eShop, only 11 minutes to attempt to complete a purchase for the first time, and despite getting stuck on the payment details screen for a good while and attempting to save a new credit card like 20 different times, just over 1 hour in, and eventually, thanks to the efficiency of saved details, they were successful at spending 500 yen, committing legitimate, by definition, credit card fraud. Converted to US bucks, it's about $3.85, and adjusted for inflation, that's around $4.09 today. Absolutely crazy stuff. And it was all achieved by these fish. And let me just remind you, this is what a vast majority of the actual gameplay looked like just hours before. It was hours of nothing. This is all the fish were doing. Yet once the opportunity for mischief exposed itself, they began speedrunning. According to Wikipedia, Mutekimaru would request a refund, but it's unclear if he ever actually got it. But also, it's not the end of the world, because the fish were just buying funds for the Switch, so technically he still had the money, it was just moved, I suppose. And on a lighter note, the fish did do some less damaging shenanigans, like changing his name to Roaway. Oh wow, that's a funny sounding name. I wonder what will happen if I search it on the Google. Yup, I'm gonna at least say it's more tame than what I expected when I read the title, though to be fair, my expectations were in the Marianas okay. Back to fish-related crimes, they were able to download an emulator, they bought an avatar with reward points, and quite possibly my favorite thing of all, when they were in the process of setting up a PayPal, they actually sent their owner an email confirmation. This might just be the only email that was ever sent by a fish, and I find that really endearing. Unfortunately, probably actually fortunately, Mutekimaru would eventually return home, probably a little bit panicked, and proceeded to switch off the Switch and the stream. Thankfully, it seems no major damage was caused, at least from what I can tell. And eventually, the challenge would continue as planned, though it's a little weird. I'm not actually sure what happened here, but for every one of these challenges, there's this nice little text overlay at the bottom of the screen describing the next challenge that needs to be done. Now, over the course of a few dozen streams, it goes from battle a gym leader Iona in Levincina City to finding a lurking steel titan, and then finally battle Arvin, which ends with no battle of Arvin. It's just once again them standing there with a team that looks like this. And that is how a Pokémon Violet but played with fish ends. You know, I guess from this inconclusive ending, we can infer that the fish were arrested for their crimes, and with Japan's 99% conviction rate, this led them right to the death penalty. It's honestly quite a disgusting tale when you think about it. I really didn't spend a lot of time drawing this one. I mean, fish-related crimes are up 100% as of this stream, and it really just puts a burden on the hard-working, law-abiding fish that, like my beautiful boy here, Bob. I mean, he is over 24 years old, he pays his taxes on time, and he has learnt respect and honesty, and, you know, that is... Hey, yo. Yo, what the fuck? Hey, thank you all for watching, and an even bigger thank you to my channel members. Look at all these people. These are very lovely people. You should definitely be one of these people if you want to also be lovely. Also, a very, very big shout out to my boy, Paladin Ryan, who actually suggested this idea to me a little while ago. I had no idea this was a thing, but as soon as I saw that Wikipedia page link, I immediately knew this was a video I really wanted to make. So, you know, Godspeed, Ryan. Wish you were still here. Thank you for the idea about fish and Pokemon, though. Love it. Anyway, though, that's about it. I hope you have a somewhat decent day. See you all later. Bye-bye.